Hey everyone, welcome to the LGBTQ Voice. I'm Tracy Welch alongside Eileen Dugas, where every week we invite guests on the show to talk about resources, events, health and wellness, and what's happening in and around the South Coast LGBTQ plus community. Hey Eileen, how you doing?
Hi, Tracy. Like Tracy said, my name is Eileen Dugas. I'm the network coordinator for the South Coast LGBTQ plus network. We are a nonprofit organization working with LGBTQ plus groups and allied organizations to build and maintain a comprehensive network for the LGBTQ plus individuals and families in southeastern Massachusetts. We are looking for some sponsorship opportunities to support our show, so please contact Leo at New Bedford Guide for more details. He can help you out with that and let you know how you can be a sponsor and the benefits of being a sponsor of our show. And welcome, everyone. Today, we have a very special guest, Sara Cunningham, the founder of Free Mom Hugs. And hi, Sara, welcome. Anyone who wants
Hello.
Hi. Anyone who wants to ask questions, put their comments in the comment box. Questions for me, Tracy, Sara, and we will get to you. And Tracy, let's get right into it tonight.
Thanks, Eileen. So tonight we'll hear Sara Cunningham's journey from her son Parker's coming out to her faith and what a little act of kindness has led to. So everyone, please welcome Sara Cunningham, founder of Free Mom Hugs, to our show. Yay!
Thank you, Tracy. Thank you, Eileen. I have to say that I love your accents. It took everything in me not to say howdy.
I know, but I don't say any R's. It's like my R's. I can't R.
No, I just want you to read me stories.
Oh, that's cute. Anytime, trust me, anytime. Yeah. So we kind of want to we'd love to hear about you, your family, and how Free Moms got started. Free Mom Hugs got started.
Yeah. Well, first of all, thank you so much for inviting me to your platform. I creeped around on your website and the Facebook page, and let me tell you, I'm so impressed with the work that you're doing there, and what a powerful punch you're having there. What a wonderful group of people you have doing the work there, and that's what it's about: is doing the best that we can where we're at with who we're with, right?
Oh.
And so, anyway, kudos to you. And I live in Oklahoma City. You might hear a siren go by. I live smack dab in the heart of Oklahoma City. I'm born and raised here. I married young. My husband and I have 2 children. We've been together over 30 years. And our youngest son, Parker, is part of the reason why we're here today and sharing my story. This is a little out of my wheelhouse. I'm a secretary by trade. I raised our children in a conservative church, not far from where we live. We could walk there from where we live. And we served there for the better part of 20 years. And our youngest son tried to have a conversation with me his entire life. And that was, he was trying to tell me that he's gay. And finally, when he turned 21, he said, "Mom, I met someone, and I really need you to be okay about it." And I didn't take the news very well. I acted in ways and said some things that I regret. And in doing that, it was a learning journey that took us from the church to the Pride Parade without losing my faith. And in 2014, we stood with our youngest son, my husband and I stood with Parker at the Oklahoma City Pride Festival. And it was my first interaction with a beautiful, spirit-filled community. And that was the journey. And shall I go on? Or I don't want to get ahead of the story here. But, well, in 2014, we stood with Parker at the Oklahoma City Pride Festival. And then I just got involved. I started going to my PFLAG meetings and getting educated on things like the history of human sexuality, on science, evidence, but more importantly, hearing stories from members of the LGBTQIA+ community, and hearing about how they had been alienated from their homes, from their church families, and from many parts of society. And then in 2015, I made a homemade button.
Is that the original
and I went
one?
to the Oklahoma. It is.
Oh my
And
God.
I went to the Oklahoma City Pride Festival. And with anyone who made eye contact with me, I would say, "Could I offer you a free mom hug or a high five?" And the first beautiful person I hugged said it had been 4 years since they got a hug from their mom because they're gay. And I heard from people who were living out of their car. And it was a wonderful day in the sense that I went home covered from head to toe with glitter. But I also had trouble sleeping that night because of the stories that I heard. And I'm not the first mom to offer free mom hugs at a Pride festival. But from that experience, I started the nonprofit organization, Free Mom Hugs. And it's a nationwide nonprofit now. We have chapters in every state of moms and dads and friends and allies who show up at their local Pride, who manage a social media Facebook page, and just encourage the community. And we provide resources, and we share our stories with anyone who will listen, just in hopes of making the world a safer place for families like ours, and for a beautiful community.
Well, the
And in
message,
fact, if I go ahead.
please. No, go ahead.
Well, I was going to share the mission statement of Free Mom Hugs is to empower the world to celebrate the LGBTQIA+ community through visibility, education, and conversation. And those are the three tools that we use that has just been very successful in bringing about change where we live and in the world around us.
Well, the Free Mom Hugs chapter of Massachusetts and New Hampshire is the one that we use for our Pride events and our youth group in Beagley.
Oh.
So they come down and they actually help chaperone our last two dances.
Oh, that's wonderful. That's wonderful to hear. And that's the purpose, is just to be a loving presence, to lift up the community, to support it wherever we can, virtually or physically. And it's been a wonderful experience so far. Not only for me, but I hear from people all over the world who might show up for their first Pride when we can. And just having experiences, whether it's wearing a button around town or a t-shirt to check the mail, whatever it is, the response has just been really overwhelming.
So before I get into the next section I really want to talk about, I want to check in on our comments. So Kate Combo, hi. Joni's watching from Bradenton, Florida. Hello. Heather Souza Charette is a mom hugger. So she's watching. Yay, Heather. Thank you for what you're doing. Monique is here sending hearts. Let's see. That is what we have for right now. So,
cool.
So Sara, you had talked about how it was really difficult for you in the beginning to accept Parker. Can you talk a little bit about how your faith played into that?
Mm-hmm. Well, I identify as a woman of faith. We raised our children in the Christian faith specifically, and we raised our children in a mainstream evangelical conservative church. And we didn't have same-sex couples in our congregation. We didn't have same-sex weddings. No one really talked about same-sex issues except for we absorbed this idea, and it was vaguely talked about how homosexuality is wrong, sinful, condemnable by God. So you can imagine being a young person growing up in that type of environment in a house of worship, and the extreme shame and guilt they might have. Well, Parker experienced that in our place of worship and in our home. You see, I suspected Parker was gay, but I thought it was just a phase. I didn't think that I had an issue with people being gay until it was our son. And I really believed that something bad had to happen to Parker to make him gay, and nothing bad happened. So I didn't really think that God would allow Parker to be gay. I mean, we both knew the scriptures. We both have absorbed this idea that homosexuality is wrong. So when he did take a stand as a gay man, I had to re-examine everything that I believed. And in doing that, Parker had already done that. Parker had already, searched the scriptures, searched himself, and searched the heart of God before he could, be at peace at who he is. And then when he came out and took a stand as a gay man, I had to go through all of those things and re-examine, why do I believe that? And in doing that, you just get educated on I found I didn't know where to look at first for resources. I thought I was the only mom thinking that my son was going to go to hell. I thought I was the only mom in Oklahoma with a gay kid having these ideas in our minds. And it was a very difficult, devastating time for our family that I put our family through, and I regret that. I missed an entire adolescence of Parker's life. So I started writing about it. I started journaling about it. I'm not a scholar or a theologian, but I thought if I could just tell our story, even just for myself. And I wrestled with my faith. I felt like I had to choose between my faith and my child. And I felt like if I somehow accepted him, it was condoning what I thought at that time was sin. Do you see the conflict there? And I didn't know where to look for resources as I tried to talk about it within our church family. No one really knew how to minister to me. There was no faith-based resources I could find. So I started writing a book, and it's titled How We Sleep at Night, A Mother's Memoir. And it's just how I got through it. Again, I'm not a scholar or a theologian. I just shared our story and the stories of the people that I met along the way. And that's how I got through it. And it's a self-published book. And I just wrote it for myself, but I started hearing from people all over the world, moms saying that I felt like you were in my head. I experienced the same thing as as they were trying to come to terms with having a gay child and what that means being in a Christian faith. So about the same time that the book came out, I found a private online Facebook group for moms with children on the LGBTQIA spectrum. And I started having conversations and getting educated. And it was there that I remember early on in that group, there was a mom that came into this private group, and she said, I just heard the words, Mom, I'm gay, and I don't know how to breathe. I don't even know how to pray anymore. And all the moms there were 250 moms at that time, and they said, then you don't. You let us breathe, and you let us pray for you. And I realized that I wasn't alone in the journey. I found the faith-based resources that I needed, and I found my voice. And as I began getting involved with the community and learning about history and science and hearing testimonies, then I started acting in ways that I was doing things that I just wish someone would have done when I was trying to figure it out. Because if I really believed that my son was going to hell for being gay, I fought for him like my hair was on fire. And as I got educated in the journey, I realized what had been happening to this beautiful spirit-filled community through a misinterpretation, through what I believe is a misunderstanding and a misuse of the scripture. And great harm and devastation has been done to a beautiful spirit-filled community. And I'm accountable to that, like my hair is on fire.
Thank
Eileen,
you.
you want to talk about the reflections on faith that we're doing right now?
I do. So
Oh,
faith religion is something that as the network we really have not approached or really addressed at all
Or made events around?
Yeah. So this year our president of the board decided he really wanted to approach this topic, and every Sunday during the month of June, and hopefully moving forward, we have our president interviewing a reverend, someone from a religious group, they're all congregation, and talk about their congregation's journey to acceptance, their road and how they got there. And it's been amazing. So it's something that's been welcomed on our website and on our Facebook page. People are listening to them, people are watching them. So it's really exciting to bring that. So your struggle with faith really highlights that there are places that you can go now, right? In our community, at least. I can't speak to Oklahoma. We're pretty, Oklahoma City, we're pretty small community. And we're very welcoming community. Massachusetts is always on the cutting edge of these things. So it's just really brought it to the forefront for our community that there are places that you can go and, in search and be spiritual. And it's just been an amazing response for us. So it's been exciting.
Yes. And I don't know if you can see, but I get emotional when I think about what's happened in history to this beautiful community. It's at the forefront of everything that we do at Three Mom Hugs, because I know, even in a state like Oklahoma, very conservative evangelical, that I know that conversion therapy is still legal, sought out, and paid for, not far from where I live. But I know that we could ban conversion therapy today across the United States, but it will not make a difference until we change what we're hearing from the pulpit. And I mean, just yesterday, I heard from a beautiful young person who, at the expense of their faith, has just been devastated by the mainstream evangelical, non-affirming church. And so when you talk about people sharing their faith, or even congregations who are on the fence, considering even having the conversation, I get emotional because I know what it means. It's a difference between life and death. And I'm very passionate about it because I have seen, I have witnessed, I'm testimonies just from the harm done, and families just blown apart completely. And so I know what it means.
Even in Massachusetts, like we said, we're the cutting edge state. We have so many kids that are still homeless, that are couch surfing, that have no food, no roof over their heads, and we're fighting this all the time. So I guess now I'll talk about our NB Agley. We have the Bedford Alliance of Gay and Lesbian Youth. Our funding comes from Bagley, and we help kids ages 14 to 24 in the South Coast, where we meet on Thursday nights and we bring everybody together. And we have like this, this talking, how's it going, what's going on, educational piece. But now that we're not being able to meet because our center's closed, we do a Zoom call on Thursday. So if you guys are between the ages of 14 and 24, just like our Facebook page, NB Agley, a perfect place. And Sarah, Eileen, how many times have I cried on our show? A lot.
I'm sure. Yeah, the tissues are close.
Yeah. We have lost 2 kids to suicide, Sarah. So when you bring your kids together and you're like, these kids aren't coming home. And our center, our kids named it a perfect place because when they walk through those doors, they're perfect. They named it. So when we lose these kids, I used to make a lot of money, and I used to spend $200 to $300 a month on food. When I couldn't do that anymore, we lost kids. Some of the kids were just coming for food, and they're like, well, I'm not going to get food here. Where can I go now? After this year's Pride, so at 2:00 in the morning, I get a phone call. I got a homeless kid at my door. Our network bought all the businesses downtown a rainbow flag to fly if you wanted it to. And this kid was walking around and saw a house nearby, knocked on the door and said, I don't have a place to come tonight. Can you help me? Well, with our help, we were able to put him up at the Harbor Hotel where we do our tea dances. And the kid was safe for the night. And my friend called me the next morning, and I said, well, I gave him all the resources, but he's not answering his phone now. I go, he got a safe place for the night, and that's what we needed to do. So when we hear these stories, and I got tissue every show, Sarah, it's disheartening, not having Pride. Every year, we have about 200 kids that come to our Pride event and share their life with everybody, and then they go hide again. So not having Pride and sharing these kids' stories, is a lot. This year that's hard for our kids. So I go on for hours and hours, but Eileen, you get the next question.
No, I understand, but I would like to add to that I'm so thankful for the power. I'm so thankful for the power of social media because we've been able to keep connections. You know, Pride oftentimes is a celebration, but it's about keeping people together. And so the power of social media, what you're doing, where you're at for the community that you serve there, is so important. It's a lifeline. Just one affirming person. We all know one affirming person can lower the suicide, at-risk behavior, alienation, devastation, all of those things. Just one affirming person, and we hear from them every day. Every day.
I think you want to go to some comments.
Let me see what we have. Let's see. Nate. Hi, Nate. How are you? He says he misses us. We miss you, Nate. He's sending hugs. Michelle. I'm going to butcher that name. DiGiovanni. Hello from Fall River. Heather Souza Charette. At Pride last year, I hugged a young woman who, as soon as I did, said, I can't tell my mom. At that moment, I realized how important we are to someone.
Yes.
And Heather also says she has 2 LGBTQ children. They know mama has their backs. I'm so happy that you have your son's back. It's refreshing to see. Thank you.
So at our youth dance for MBAgley, we try and have one quarterly. So our last one, we did Halloween and we did Valentine's dance. We have a DJ, a photo booth, so the kids can take pictures with their friends. But it was just really nice at Free Mom Hugs. I said, listen, would you guys like to chaperone? You know, so I think we had maybe 3 or 4 moms come and they just chaperone with us. Because it's important that, you know, these kids feel that, you know, they have a safe place to go to. And they know they're loved and they're cared for, you know. So I just think it's amazing, you know, what a one button can do, right? Or not, I know you said that you didn't stop it, but you know.
Well, I think that the platform. What I love about Free Mom Hugs is that I believe people want to do something, and Free Mom Hugs just offers the platform for that, for people just to show up. And once they do and they see and they experience that, what a profound and practical way just to be connected to another human being. And, you know, you were talking about faith. I want to kind of circle back around that, Eileen, is that, you know, there was a time that in my faith walk that, you know, I had to re-examine everything that I believe, but being on this side of the story, like I experienced God, I experienced what I believe is the power of the Holy Spirit to an even greater degree than I thought possible. And I was like totally sold out. You know, I love the scripture. I love participating in the faith. I love, you know, looking for, if you know, read the book, you know that I like pictures and illustrations of the Lord and the power of the Holy Spirit. And I believe in those things so profoundly. And that, if anything, it's just greater within me. I experience God to a greater degree than I ever thought possible. I can go to a drag show and hot tears when I see the beautiful expression of human sexuality. Whereas before, I probably would have looked at it as, you know, something perverted or wrong. But now I understand the dynamic, not to the fullest at all. I'm not a, you know, scientist, but the dynamic of human sexuality is beautiful. And, you know, we've just had hundreds of years of having it, I believe, dumbed down to where it's just, it's something that needs to be celebrated and beautiful.
When I see these kids,
what are you going to say, Tracy?
When these kids are their authentic self, I'm like, oh my God, I love it. When I can see 2 girls or 2 young men walking through the mall holding hands, I'm like, damn, I helped do that. And when I see older couples, I'm like, damn, you did that for me. You know, people that are older than me. When I see these kids smiling, being them true, authentic selves, I'm like, enjoy land.
You know, Tracy,
I think once you're aware of it, then you see it everywhere, even the oppression. Once you're aware of what's happened, and how it's happened through, I keep saying the evangelical mainstream conservative. I'm not trying to throw that under the bus, but I mean, we've had it wrong. I believe that we've had it gravely wrong. And rather than, that to celebrate each other is what we're created to do. And when we can do that, we really serve the world. And I think that makes the world better for everyone. And once you see it and you're made aware of it, when you don't see it or see it grieved, it's offensive and it grieves.
Yeah, definitely. And I think Tracy was talking about people paving the way and then for us. And Tracy and we spoke at a middle school or a pre-middle school one time, and I'll never forget the child raised their hand and said, it wasn't legal for two women to get married. Like, they had no clue that it was ever illegal. Concept. And I'm like, wow, I never thought that I would see that in the generation. But with that being said, there is a need to teach the path in the road, in the work that it took and that people walked to get to this place. So it does need to be taught. But however, it was just so amazing to hear that, look at this 9-year-old raise their hand and say, I didn't know that it was illegal for two women to get married or two men.
That's great. No,
right? It's amazing.
That's great. Well, even to like you said, Eileen, that it's important to teach the history, because I have colleagues who 5 years ago, when the Marriage Equality Act passed, they go, okay, marriage equality is passed. What more do you need? And then here recently, when the Supreme Court, a very conservative Supreme Court, voted in favor of, against the Discrimination Act against the community, people were unaware. They had no idea you could be fired for being gay. And even me, I'm the least politically minded person you'll ever meet. But once Parker came out, I realized, it didn't take long to realize that my straight son has more rights than my gay son. You see? And you get educated really quickly.
So we had talked before the show came on, Eileen, about some of the people we've had on our show. So Sarah, we actually had two women who had the same sperm donor, if you want to call it that, and each one was going to have a child. That way, the siblings would be, brothers and sister. Well, one of them wasn't able to have a baby, so the mom has two kids, had them both. So because of what's happening in the world, the mom, who didn't have the kids, adopted the other two. Think about that. The bio mom dies. I'm just married to her. I have no legal rights to that kid. Yep. You do in Massachusetts right now, but what if it changes? Or they go travel to another state and they don't recognize it. So you go, well, here's my adoption papers. I'm all set. Thank you. So these are things that we have to think about as a society, which is sad, right? Just sharing the love.
Well, I think they just have no idea. They have no idea. The very first couple, early in my advocacy, couples started asking if I would officiate their weddings. And the very first wedding that I officiated for was for a couple who'd been together over 20 years. And they had acquired property. And I mean, you can't spend over 20 years together and not have some things acquired together. So anyway, that once the Marriage Equality Act passed, they had a legal ceremony to where should one of them, pass on, they don't have to worry about, how that's going to go. So anyway, yeah, I'm made aware of that. But yeah, crazy.
So when did you realize that, the free mom hugs was bigger than your original intent and the need for the support? Was it like right after you went to your first pride, the second pride with the pin?
Well, I've carried a lot of titles in a very short amount of time, because you have to remember that I wrote the book, and then I offered free mom hugs at a Pride festival, and then I started officiating same gender weddings and started hearing from those couples saying that their parents refused to come to the wedding or even acknowledge the relationship. And out of frustration, I made a social media post with my hand in the air, said, if your biological mom won't come to your same-sex wedding, then you call me, I'll be there. And that went viral. And that gave me the title as a stand-in mom. And yes, I do stand in at weddings. I'm always hopeful that the parents will come around, but if they don't, I'm happy to celebrate and be a loving presence on that day. And but it's very small part of what I do. So no, I had no idea. But when that post went viral, we heard from people all over the world saying, I'll stand in too. And then they started finding out about free mom hugs. And so what started out in Oklahoma City, just a handful of moms, dads, friends, and allies, people started wanting to do that too. Well, they didn't want to recreate the wheel. They wanted to do what we were doing here. So I was happy to share the information, but through that, we had, a handful of people trying to do things that were growing nationally. So, I mean, we were receiving like 50 emails an hour of people wanting to do this where they live. So, it wasn't trying to necessarily police it, but we wanted to make sure that everybody who represented free mom hugs is fully affirming, right? We have had some groups who go in and try to pray the gay away. No, we need to make sure that each chapter leader and the co-chair and anyone representing free mom hugs fully affirming. So now we have a national board that oversees, and we're building the foundation. Again, a lot's happened in a very short amount of time, but now we have chapters in every state, and it's been an amazing process so far to see. And we have moms, dads, friends, and allies. But what I love is that we have moms that are skinny, and moms that are bigger, and moms that are brassy, and moms that are sweet as can be. And it's everybody's mom. It's everybody's mom. And it's as simple as a hug or a high five. And it's profound.
So I know Eileen has read your book. So Eileen, you want to talk about that for a little bit?
I do, but I did have a question about stand-in mom. So has there ever been a situation where someone contacts you and says, I need a stand-in mom, my mom won't be there, and then they're like, hey, will you talk to my mom and see if you can get them to come?
Yes.
Yeah. Does that ever work? Has it worked for you?
All the time. I will say that I have spoken to many a mom, and I've, sent books, I've sent resources, I've had coffee dates, and more times than not, at the beginning, they're not receptive. I mean, it's more times than not, I can't even get them to the table or to talk on the phone. But over time, they'll more than likely come around. See, because they, a mother who initially is they have to go through the journey too, but more times than not, they'll come around. And I'm still make myself available then as I did, the day. But, I tell this beautiful community who reach out to me and say, listen, what I would do if my mom could just sit across the table from you, or could you just call her or send her a text, or can, I'm going to leave your book on the coffee table in hopes that she'll read it, things like that. And I tell these beautiful people, it's like, what have you got to lose? What have you got to lose? And we always hope that the parents will come around, but if they don't, I'm happy to be there. And it's about thriving and having a productive, healthy, happy life. And I would rather err on the side of love than, a lot of times the parents regret not showing up for the wedding or not acknowledging this beautiful relationship. And it's regretful. So.
The work that you're doing is so amazing and so impactful. Not only are you maybe standing in, maybe giving a hug, maybe giving a high five, but sometimes you're really reconnecting families. So that is a gift that, is tremendous. You can't give a better gift than that. So thank you for that. And I really wanted to point that out, that not only do you do those things, but you're reconnecting family. So thank you. Thank you for that.
Well, thank you very much. I'm just doing something I wish someone would have done when I was trying to figure it out. And I've even written letters to families, and I just tell the community, what have you got to lose? You know, and I'm happy to do that. So thank you.
Thank you. So that book that you wrote, I have read that book. You know, there was so much in every page. I wanted more and more and more. I read it in one day, didn't put it down. But the one thing that stood out to me and pulled it all together was November notes. Can you tell people who are watching might not know what November notes is? Can you talk a little bit about that, what that is?
Yes. Several years ago, even before, you know, Parker came out, I used to have a project. You know how some people will try to write a novel in the month of November? Well, I didn't do that, but I would try to write letters, and I would, you know, make a social media post, say, if you would like a letter or a card or something, snail mail, send me your address. And during the month of November, I'll send a letter every day to someone. So that's November notes. And this particular letter is a letter that I wrote to Parker one November during November notes. And I have it here. I don't know if we have time to read it, or you can just touch about what you like. Okay, I'm going to read it then, if that's okay.
Thank you.
It says, Dear Parker, I love you, and I wanted to take some time to share with you a few thoughts that I treasure in my heart about you. On Monday nights, we drive home on a route that takes us through the intersection of Classen and the Northwest Expressway. Every time we pass that intersection, I telepathically send a message to your dad to turn left and then right, so we can go by your street and do a drive-by on your house, in hopes that you'll be on the porch and we can stop for a visit. Sometimes he gets the message, sometimes he doesn't. I miss your clutter sometimes. Remember to have your oil changed. Never stop singing and creating your art. It's all so beautiful and the world needs it. I'm always so impressed with your many talents. You should come sing me a song right now. If I could change one thing about our past, it would be our lives during your high school years. I would spend more time figuring who you are and what you are going through with you. I love Cole, his boyfriend at the time. I fell in love with him in our first visit in the backyard during 20 questions, as he puts it. When I saw the scars on his arms and heard the stories of his loss, my heart loved him right then and there. Encourage him, build him up. He wants to take care of you. Help him to do that. I'm so happy that we went to India together. That really was a trip of a lifetime that I will always treasure. I still can't believe it. The planes and the trains and the hotel and the banner and the ocean. Oh my goodness, such a wonderful time. Remember how I cried when it was time to go? So embarrassing. I ugly cry major. I love the fact that you recognize and embrace your own spirituality, your personal journey. Try to hold on to the good things that came out of church life, not to the lessons deemed out of ignorance and intolerance, but hold tight to the lessons of love, grace, and mercy. I never met a person without a problem or a worry. Remember that everyone needs forgiveness and acceptance. Learn the difference between conviction and condemnation. Keep the Lord close, enjoy him, and love him as he adores you. His goodness is everywhere. His goodness is everywhere and in every living thing. Look for it. I love you so much, Mom.
Oh, our youth group, we usually snaps to you because it gets too loud. So whenever I usually just go, woo, you know.
Thank you.
That note to me really showed your journey in one letter, and your appreciation for your son, your appreciation for the journey. And his journey and your journey, the missed opportunities and the opportunities had. It was just so tremendous. For me, it was
Thank you,
so
Eileen.
impactful. I loved reading that portion right at the end. Did you just sit down and write that, or was that like a work of days? Like
The book or the letter?
the letter.
No, I mean, I think it was relatively easy. I mean, it's just writing from experiences that we had. So, but I never really considered myself a writer. As you read the book, often I hear that people say that I felt like we were just having coffee over a table, just having a conversation. So I don't consider myself a writer by any means, which is problematic because people think, oh, you wrote a book. Well, write this. And it's like, I really struggle with writing. I mean, you realize how limited your vocabulary is when you write a book, but I was happy to write it. It was easy to write once I got started because it was all true. And I didn't leave anything out, Eileen, even in the part that my spiritual journey, I really thought about keeping that part out of the book because I thought people would really think that I was crazy. Like, what's in my head? I have a chapter in the book called What's in My Head. And I wrote everything that gave me hope. Everything that gave me hope from a spiritual aspect of my faith, which is the most important thing to me aside from being a mother. That I thought, how can I leave that out if it's the very thing that saved me? Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
So I didn't leave anything out, even the cuss words. Like, I couldn't think of a better word than shit. So it's like, I'm leaving that in there. I just, for lack of a better word.
And it was so, you were so vulnerable. And I don't want to give away too much of the book so in case people want to read it, but the interaction that you had at your point of, no, this cannot be, with Parker, in that exchange, I was like so thankful for being that vulnerable and letting people know that, because that's what people need to see, that they're not alone, and that people do feel this way, and people do have gay children that they just don't know how to manage that, accepting that. And so it was so, you were so vulnerable, and it made it so real. I mean,
thank you, Eileen.
That people need to read if they are struggling, to see that they are not alone in this battle.
And I know
thank you.
We talked about it a little bit last week's show, but for you guys that don't know, we started the Rainbow Club for ages 8 to 13. And we'd like to start that back up again. It was kids that came in with their parents. Their children were LGBTQ+, and the kids, would just kind of, have a run of the center, and the parents would just kind of convince and have a place to kind of say, you know what, oh my God, my boy's a girl and my girl's a boy, and I don't know what to do, and can you guys help us? And Eileen would run the group and give some resources.
That's great.
For the kids, because our Ackley is 14 to 24. And then we have Pride Cafe from the center, and that's 18+. So we have all these different things and different
wonderful
things in the community. And these kids are struggling. If we can start at an earlier age, then maybe we won't need our groups, going, 30 years from now. But to help these kids. I
hope so. But I will tell you too that during that time in my life, I was not interested in PFLAG. I probably wouldn't have gone to a rainbow setting like that, as much as I appreciate it and know the value of it now. That I would not have gone, and I know that. But what I would have done if our pastor would have said, Sarah, here is some faith-based resources. Search this matter out. I needed to hear from someone who shared my faith that it's okay to search the matter out. And when you do, that's where you get educated and your eyes are opened. See?
And I think sometimes, oh, go ahead. I think sometimes too, like, when you go into these places, for you being a straight woman, I'm just saying that you're like, I'm coming out. You know what I mean? People are going to know because I'm here at this group. And we're coming out every day. Eileen and I talk about this all the time. Eileen and her wife. Eileen will be at an event. Like, oh, are you married? Where is he? And she, oh, my wife is right here. So we're always coming out. Everywhere we go, we're always coming out. It doesn't stop. Just I'm out, hey. People are still like, oh, you're who? You're what? You're gay? And everybody wants to know the story. Are you sure? Maybe you have the right man.
You know,
And one thing that I oh, go ahead, Eileen. Sorry.
I love that. Are you sure? Because if you are saying, I mean, there isn't a person in my, I can speak of in my circles that woke up and said, "Oh, I want to be gay," right? Because it was always a harder life, more challenges, more struggles, right? So it's a phase. Okay. Maybe it is a phase for some people. I don't know, but I can tell you that I never got up and said I want to be a lesbian, because my life, that realization changed my world, and it was so much harder for me as a parent, as a community member, always having to come out. So I love that you brought that out, Tracy, that people are always coming out. It's a phase. I want to be gay. Like, I mean, think about that. Yeah, I want to have a hard life. So I want to have less opportunity. I want to have less opportunity, those type of things, which a lot of that has changed, and people are more accepting. But when 20 years ago, I don't even know how old I was, more than 20 years ago, but it wasn't like that for me. It was like, no, who would choose this? Who would choose this? And what is wrong with me? And hopefully we're getting past that now.
I hope so. I hope so, Eileen. It's just like I didn't wake up one day and decide I was straight.
Right.
It's just always
That's
been
the
there.
conversation
So,
I have with people. How do you know you're straight?
Yeah.
Well, I just am. Well, I'm just gay. How do you know? Because I am. It can be that simple.
Yeah.
Right.
But you still have to say,
Yeah,
well, I dress as a tomboy. That's what I like. That's just my outer appearance. Well, why? You must have known you're a tomboy. Not all tomboys are gay. The conversations can go from this to holy crap. We just had that conversation.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
So I know we're
I love that.
running a little bit later today, but so you're where you're at in your life. You've written this memoir, this book. Then all of a sudden, somebody in the limelight comes to you and says, "Hey, I want your story. Can you tell us a little bit about Jamie Lee Curtis and
Yes. Yes. Jamie Lee Curtis, she heard about the post that went viral, the stand-in mom, and she sent me a private message. Some of the best connections I have to date has been through private messages. So Tracy, thank you for sending a private message my way. I'm so glad to meet you both and to have this opportunity. But Jamie Lee Curtis acquired the rights to the book, and she is directing and playing me in the film. The title, working title right now, if I understand correctly, is How We Sleep at Night, the Sara Cunningham story. And it's going to be a made-for-television movie on the Lifetime channel. And I'm thrilled. I'm thrilled that, hello, we're making a movie. But more so that there's a mom out there like me then who needs a mom like me now. And so we have that project going on. And I also want to make you aware of a project called the Mama Bear documentary. And it's by a director, Dorisha Kai. It's called the Mama Bear documentary. And it's being edited as we speak. And this will be in the independent film. And Dorisha, the director, just followed moms like me who are just trying to make the world safer for their families where they're at. And it's a wonderful piece, a documentary that will be on the independent film circuit this year. The Jamie Lee Curtis movie will probably be out in 2021. Thank you, pandemic. But that's where we're looking for that. So 2 great projects coming up.
And the picture of you and Jamie Lee Curtis side by side with y'all with the same hairstyle. And you can see the resemblance, right? You can see more than just the hairstyle, right?
You mean that one?
I mean, yeah.
I use it. Yeah, I use it for a presentation, so I just happen to have it right here. But I don't want time to get away from me without inviting your guests that please go to freemomhugs.org, find the chapter in your state. Even though we're not physically able to get together now, you can still encourage the community and be very much a part of Free Mom Hugs in the community where you're at through that private or through that Facebook page. So if you go to freemomhugs.org, you find your state and you get plugged into your Free Mom Hugs chapter, and you're part of the movement. And I just really want to encourage you there. You can find resources. We are, like you, a nonprofit. We depend on reoccurring donations if you're in the mood for that. If you pray for us. If you can find some resources there, just a wellspring of information.
And that website is in the chat box. So in the comment section, you can definitely see that. You can also see the link to purchase the book. And yeah, they're all in the chat box. So you can definitely go there. Free Mom Hug. Yep. So if you didn't get a chance to write it down, check out the chat box, the comment section, and you'll see it.
Yeah, so Kim Aruda says hello.
Thank you, Eileen.
Yep, and Kate says thank you everyone for tonight. Kate's a good friend of our community. Yes. Shout out to Kate. Woo-hoo! Hi, Yvonne. Happy birthday, guys. Someone just had a birthday.
Yes, Yvonne did.
Yeah.
Happy birthday to you.
Oh, that's sweet. So, Eileen, where we at?
So, Sarah, we're almost out of time tonight. Is there anything else that you would like to share before we go?
I would just like to just encourage the community to find people who love and support you. And if you don't have those people in your life, then you find them. They're around. And to parents who might be hearing the words, Mom, I'm gay, there are so many resources out there now to not have a better understanding. And please, please celebrate your child, all of them, or you're going to suffer with them. Celebrate your children, and you will serve the world well.
Thank you, Sarah. Tracy, do you have anything else?
Thank you, Tracy and Eileen. I hope to meet you in person someday.
Oh, that would be amazing.
That would be amazing.
Yeah.
And guys, don't forget, next week we got Mandy Fraser from the Queer Arts Council on the show.
Yes, we do. And we have a special event coming up I want to talk to you all about briefly. Mike's going to put it up on the screen. It's called Can't Cancel Pride. And this is a fundraiser that will be live streamed on June 25th at 9 p.m. The network will host a watch party. New Bedford Guide will host a watch party. It will be live streamed on iHeartRadio. It's sponsored by iHeartRadio and Procter & Gamble. All of the performers are doing this to raise money for the LGBTQ plus community. Adam Lambert, Katy Perry, Kim Petras, Melissa Etheridge, Ricky Martin, Sia, Big Frida. Wow. Many people will be performing. You can watch it here, donate, share it. Let me know what you think about it next week, but join us. And if you have the opportunity to donate, all of the funds go to LGBTQ plus community centers. So I'm excited about that.
And we get some of the proceeds.
We absolutely get some of the proceeds. We are part of Centerlink. Centerlink is a national nonprofit organization that we partner with, and we will get some of the proceeds from this event. So it's going to be exciting.
Congratulations. That's awesome.
Yes. So thank you again, Sarah, for joining us, sharing your story, being vulnerable. It's an amazing journey that you've had, and the support that you're giving to the community is extraordinary. So thank you for that. Don't forget to join us next week to learn about the Queer Arts Council. And we will see you next Tuesday at 7. Have a good night, everyone.
Good night, guys.